Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Pie Records, and I'm back with Craig Skelly for Guitar Corner with Craig Skelly, where we talk about different techniques, starting from the bottom and working your way up in playing surf music guitar. So I want to thank you, Craig, and right now we're going to talk about some gear. Take it away,
Here.
Craig.
Okay, nerds, join in. We talked about me playing a Mustang, a beginner guitar for Fender, just to show you that if you want to make surf music, you don't have to have expensive gear. I have a Surfy Bear Reverb that I've been using, and then I have that all going into this Tone Master, a new Fender amp that doesn't have a tube in sight. It weighs 23 pounds. I mean, it's like nothing, but it creates a really nice sound. So anyway, today what I wanted to put the guitar down for a minute, and I wanted to talk a little bit about gear. Okay, so first off, picks. Okay, so what I would tell you if you're beginning to surf music, just the classic Fender medium is probably where you're going to want to start and figure it out from there, because a lot of guys, it's all over the map on what pick you like. But if you start with a medium, you're going to get a feel whether you want to go heavier, which is where I've gone. In this case, I use a Dunlop nylon 1mm. That's the one I use, and it's got these little grips on it.
Yeah.
It helps me to hold better. That's my lead pick. But when I have to play rhythm, this Clayton .63 I've been using for years. And the difference is that the regular Fender style pick is much smaller. You can see the difference. It's a much smaller pick. So in this case, you just hold it with your finger, your thumb and your index finger like this, you know, but these Claytons are cool because you can hold them with two fingers. So if you're doing a lot of sweep picking or a lot of rhythm playing, then this isn't a bad option for you as well. Martin Cilia, here's his pick. He gave it to me when I saw him when on his last tour, and this is a monster. This thing's probably 2mm thick. This thing's like using a 2x4. So he, one of the best surf guitar players around, uses a pick that's as big as iron. You know, this ain't gonna move. And there's a whole host. I have some Ventures picks in here and a whole host of others, but I also wanted to show you this funky one that, oh, here it is. There's this little triangle thing. It's a tiny little triangle. And compared to the Clayton, it's a little guy, right? And then one of the best bouzouki players, this Alex guy, plays at a local Greek restaurant by us. He said, Craig, try this little pick. And he's the best double picker I've ever seen. Those bouzouki guys, that's all they do is double pick. It's like a mandolin on steroids, really. So anyway, I wanted to let you know that really any pick will get it done. If you want to start double picking, so I will go to a little gear. Here's Martin's pick, the beef, the big monster. You know, you're so I can play with that big pick, but I'd rather use something a little bit lighter. So you could use, and this is one from Sun Records. I got this one from Sun Records when I visited Memphis, and this is a thin. So then, see, it's hard for me to play this thin, but. So this might be a better pick for you to start with because there's not a lot of resistance. Because the string, when you're double picking, you know, it depends on how much resistance. The thinner the pick, the less resistance. The bigger the pick, the fatter the pick, the more resistance that you have. So finally, when you get up to a mil and bigger, like what I use, and Dick used monster picks. He used heavy, Dick Dale. So see the difference in sound? It gives you a little snappier sound. So if you want to start with a thin and move into a medium and then finally to a heavy, that's kind of the progression I made through surf music. So the second element is strings. My favorite string, if you're going to use round wounds is going to be Ernie Ball 10s, Slinkies. Ernie Ball's been in business as long as Fender has, made strings for Fender in the early days. And so when I talked to Paul Johnson of the Bel Airs, he said that's all he ever used was Ernie Balls, because that's what they came with. And so that's what he used. But Fender, when they developed the Jaguar, this guitar right here, and then the Jazzmaster, that guitar right there, they sent those with what's called flat wounds. Now the chromes, these are chromes. So, and these are flat wounds. These are D'Addario 11s. Whereas the Ernie Ball Slinkies, those are 10s. So when you're using round wounds, you want to go a little bit lighter, although you can go heavy. This is just my preference. But if you're going to use a flat wound, then you're going to want something like this. You want to do 11s. Dick Dale used 16s, right?
Wow.
These are 11s. He used basically, we call it telegraph cable or telephone cable for his Stratocasters. And he had to block the bar, and he had to modify his guitar because the string he used was too heavy. So for me, I have used 12s and 13s before, but I tend to like 11s, and I'll show you the difference. Here's my Jazzmaster, and so what I have is I have flats on the Jazzmaster and the Jaguar, and I have rounds on the Mustang and the Mosrite and my Stratocasters. So what it enables me to do while I'm on the bandstand, I bring a couple of guitars when we're playing out, so that I can have different sounds for different songs. So in this case, this one is going to be a see the difference already. So we're gonna get the treble up a little, and here we go. Now this is better. That's better.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so this one. So you hear how splashy that is. This is going to be way more splashy. So if you're playing, that's the astronaut sound. This is the guitar they used. This is the string they used, not the amplifier. They used Showman's, but then you go. So that's what you want out of a flat wound guitar. If you're going to do a lot of astronauts, traditional surf music, chantés, you're going to want say a flat wound string versus a round wound. But it's hard to put those on a Strat. Dick Dale did, but in general, the flats tend to go on. But George Tomsko from the Fireballs told me that he only uses rounds on a Jazzmaster. He's a Jazzmaster guy, and the Fireballs wrote tons of great songs in the early days. Recorded them in New Mexico, Tom Petty in Norman Petty's studio. So anyway, that's my thinking. I don't want to go too much. If you guys want more comments about flats versus rounds or pick size, it's all pure preference, really. It's up to you. If you want this heavy Dick Dale, big Dick sound, the heavy, you need to use heavier picks, you need to use heavier strings, flat wounds, and preferably, you can play it on a Strat. Dick was a Strat guy, but a Jazzmaster, because you can see the pickups, the winds on these pickups are all much bigger, and so it's got that bigger, it's a huge sound. So if you do Strat to Jazzmaster like I do, I have a pedal board with a small, just a couple of pedals. We'll talk about that later. With a volume pedal, so that if I'm switching to the Mustang, let's say, I can lift up the volume on this and have it become less intense, because these guitars have a lot more output than, say, a Mustang or a Strat. So hope that helps. That's my chat today about the difference between round wound strings and flat wounds, and then different types of picks. It's up to you. Start with, like I said earlier, start with thinner, start with round wounds, get you going, and then once you're going, it just doesn't sound like the Astronauts. It's not. Right? If you want that splash and that big astronaut sound, it's going to be a little heavier pick. It's going to be flats, and it's going to be a Jazzmaster or a Jaguar. Jaguar's good too. Carl Wilson, that's Carl's guitar. Not literally, but that's the same guitar he played, same color. And so you can use Jaguars too. Carl did an amazing job with the Beach Boys, lead guitar for the Beach Boys all those years. So, and he was a Jaguar guy. Eddie and the Showman. Eddie was a Jaguar guy too. So anyway, that's my talk on strings and picks and guitars. So thank you, Ryan, and we'll stay tuned. There's more to come.
Awesome. If you enjoyed today's video, click the link in the description to get more information on Craig, his Bandcamp, his social media for his new band, Little Kahuna. Also comment below if this helped you, and thank you, Craig, for coming back. Also links in the description to all my gear that I use for the podcast and official Pi Records merch. I do encourage you to subscribe so we can get you up to date on Craig's newest videos. Thank you, Craig.
You're welcome, Ryan. It's been fun.